Hey everyone, Sam Davidson here with MEA Worldwide at the world premiere of Netflix's newest original series, Living with Yourself, starring the one and only Paul Rudd. You guys are gonna love it. It's gonna be a super fun carpet, so stay tuned. I know that as you should be, you're very particular about the projects that you choose to do, TV, all of that.
Yeah, I suppose there's particular in a sort of way when you're like Angelina Jolie in the scripts, when you're like, well, I love the script. And then there's particular when you are sometimes a lot of the time out of work and you're like, well, how much? But I think you do get to a certain point where when you sign up to a show, you don't sign up to it for a few months, you sign up to it for a couple of years. And you look at your life and going, what sort of work environment would I like to be in? What sort of roles would I actually like to, if this goes and goes for years, would I be able to stand playing this person? So that starts to come in a little bit more, but I think that's a privilege you get having worked. And I think I was in a lucky position of being sort of in a place where I'd had a bit of work and I could look at something and go, oh yeah, no, I would move to New York for this. I would change my life for this project.
Especially because episode 5 is where Kate really takes the forefront and you start seeing her story more than ever. So tell me a little bit about why that episode was so important to you.
It was so important to me because I am bored to death, and in a lot of my stand-up I go into this as well, about seeing a certain view of women and all of the people in my life and I love who I don't get to see on screen, and it's so incredibly boring. So if I'm to talk about that in stand-up, why would I then go out and play like, honey, are you going through a bad time? Oh, what a schmuck. If only he'd change his ways, I'd be happy. I'm perfect. That's boring, and that's not any of my friends or your sisters or you or any of us. So, and that the fact that Tim didn't have to be asked to write that episode. He'd written this whole show and had a whole episode dedicated to seeing everything from her point of view. I was saying earlier on, it's boringly refreshing. It shouldn't be so refreshing as it is, and it was. And Paul's got a very dynamic wife who's a writer and a creator in her own right. Tim Greenberg, who's a writer, has an amazing wife, Danny. And I don't think either of them wanted to see a couple on screen and just see themselves and not see anything from their point of view as well. It'd be a disservice to their partners. So that was a big part of it. Episode 5 is genuinely the reason I signed up to this show. And audition, because I didn't want to audition for something I didn't like and then would have to do it. They sent me that episode. I'm like, oh yes, okay, please. And I got really excited about it. I'm like, oh no, now I have to try and get it. So yeah.
Okay, so congratulations on being this awesome new show.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit, because I heard you have a different interesting story about how you got cast in the show.
Yeah, so I actually was asked to come to the table read of the first episode and read all the little small parts that hadn't been cast yet. And one of the parts was the one I ended up playing, which was originally written for somebody who was like older and this and that. But we just had so much fun at the table read that, they found a little something for me to do. So I was super, super honored and excited to be asked.
What can you tell us about your character?
Margaret is the waitress at their favorite diner, and she's seen it all, has heard it all, and so she is unruffled when some pretty wonky things are being said at the table.
All right. Thoughts on cloning? This has been like an on and off, because do you remember the Michael Keaton movie, Multiplicity?
Absolutely.
So
yes.
This has been a topic for a long time. What are your thoughts?
Well, the thing about it now that is like so pertinent is that it's real, that they actually have this technology, and that are kind of being like held back from doing it on people. But it's like this idea they're like doing gene editing, they're doing this kind of thing. And it makes sense that people are wondering like, what would the repercussions of such a thing be? Or like, what's the equivalent to like, getting a Groupon for Botox and doing it somewhere sketchy in the valley versus going to a nice place, right? But the stakes have been raised, so much because it's actual, cloning. I think that, all of these sort of futuristic sciencey things are happening, and the world at large isn't sure where that moral line lies. So it's really good that is explored in art, so that we, like as a society, actually start thinking about it. So even though it's a comedy, it actually, I think, will leave audiences with a lot of thoughts and questions.
One character, your OG character, is in a little less good shape than your clone. Which one did you shoot first? Did you have to lose weight or gain weight for either of them?
Well, I shot them at the same time.
Really?
We didn't have the luxury of doing that. No, I would change sometimes a few times a day. A lot of that is done with posture, and the clothes are not so fitted. Everything was a little bit bigger, but I would just change. Posture does a lot. Yeah. Yeah.
What did you learn from your character
Well, it was a whole new way of working for me, having to play two parts, and so I learned a whole new way to act, to just accomplish the technical side of it, which we had to do. We had to do a lot of that in a fairly short amount of time, but it was. The whole, every time you work on something, it's a learning experience in one way or another, and this one, I learned. I went into this going, I wonder how I'm going to do this, and now I have a method of doing it.
What was your favorite part on set?
Boy, there were several. It's such a nice thing when you work with people whose company you enjoy, and I mean, we had a lot. It was a very challenging shoot because there was a lot to do technically, and the days were long. But just getting to know Aisling, who I met on this project, working with John and Val, who I've been a fan of for many years. The first time we ever got to work together, I got to know Tim, who I think is a terrific writer. They just forming friendships is always the best thing.
Yeah.
Well, so I know that your part in the show is on and off, but it's very significant because there's an episode that's completely devoted to Kate's character, of course. So tell us a little bit about your character and how you play into her background.
Yeah, so I've been in her life since childhood, and then now I'm a coworker. So I think I'm one of the glimpses into her past, and also I think it doubles down on how cool her character is. Her character's kind of always been, grounded but goofy, and keeps people in her life for a long time, which I think speaks well of people. And we're business partners, but we're not too serious as business partners because we know when we make mistakes, which is fun.
Well, not to give too much away, but you guys do kind of steal something on your first scene that we really see you in, and it is a huge Easter egg for the rest of the season, as is kind of what your character is going through.
I'm like, how much am I allowed to say? What is my character going through?
Well, you end up having kids, which is interesting, right?
Yeah. She's dealing with. Well, I'm excited that I get to play a gay character again. So there's that. On Netflix, I've been lucky enough to play a gay character twice, and it just makes my heart so happy. So there's that. Yes, and she's. I don't want to tip everything off. Yes, dealing with children, perhaps. Yes.
And so I know you've had some experience. You're also doing a Netflix show right now. I hear it's a really great company to work for. Like, how is it different from what you guys have done before?
Yeah, it's funny. I've just now realized I did some of Grace and Frankie, and then I was unable to do the next season because I was filming something else, and then now I am going to be working with Netflix again. But it's only just in hindsight realizing what a joy it's been, and just. Yeah, it's just a drama-free network with nice people, and I really I think it just speaks well, especially a company that's so vast. Obviously, I haven't been on every Netflix show, but when they're able to attract and collect such a wonderful pedigree of people who are also dear humans, that are trying to say something when they're writing, I think that just speaks so well of them. Yeah.
So how did you get involved in all of this? Did you come up with the idea? Did someone else pitch it to you?
No, it was my idea. I'd had the idea in a sort of a different way many years ago, and then once I got married and had kids and was living my life as more of an adult, I started to realize that I was a lot more concerned about what kind of person I was being with my significant others, with my loved ones, and why I couldn't always be kind of the best version of myself with them. And so then I sort of thought, that kind of question of why are there better and worse versions of ourselves, and why can't we always have control over that? Combined with this more fantastical science fiction, magical realism kind of idea of what if there were another you in the world? I realized that I could sort of tell that very fun story, but also talk about things that influence my daily life.
So when you were writing this, did you at all have Paul Rudd in mind, or possibly a possibility that could play this?
I certainly didn't have him in mind initially because who am I to have Paul Rudd in my show, you know? But when we started to make a list, that first imaginary list of actors who'd you like, he was at the top of that list. And then literally years later, once we were with Netflix and we had sort of the financial wherewithal and otherwise the high profile that Netflix does I thought that was him standing behind me, it's just a giant photo of him on once we had that we could actually get to him, he was Netflix wanted him as their top choice, and he was our first choice, and so it was really amazing that he liked it. Yeah.
We have had an amazing time here at the world premiere of Netflix's new series, Living with Yourself. We hope that you guys have enjoyed these interviews. If you'd like to see more like them, please download our app for free, go to our website, or subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll see you next time.